You can be free of suffering today. You can be free of suffering. It is possible for you to be free of suffering. There's the ego and there's God. And any second of the day, you can choose whether you want to go for God or for the ego. Everything visible, everything you can sense in this world, in this sensory world, is not real, is an illusion. Everything in this sensory world, everything you can experience with your senses, even experiences, are of the ego. People sometimes say, oh, his ego is so big. But when you say it, you talk from the ego. There is no your ego or my ego. Mostly when people use the word ego, they mean unfriendliness. And in my experience, people are unfriendly when they are still having a lot of traumas, issues. When people walk around with pain and fear, it's very difficult to be friendly, right? Where do you choose for? I know where you choose for, Virgo. This is very obvious, the first card. I'm going to get another card for you from the same deck, and then I'll go to Rider-Waite. Crocodile. Crocodile, you want your mouth to be, you want the mouth of the ego to be shut. You only want to listen to the voice for God. And the voice for God, I'm not saying the voice of God, okay, because that's not possible, that's not true. Because when you are living, dealing, deciding from the ego, you're not in your heart. And when you are in the heart of hearts, you don't understand what's going on in this ego world. God doesn't understand the ego, and the ego doesn't understand God. You cannot talk about God, you cannot describe God in its purity. You can't, because He doesn't exist here. We do not have free will. We do not have free will. Within science, for decades already, from quantum physics, for example, they already know that when you analyze with a very strong microscope one cell of my skin, then the part before the last part, when you enlarge it, it will show the same stuff as one cell of this jacket underneath that same microscope. The step before the very last step with enlargement, with the possible enlargement, is the same. It shows the same stuff. We are all made of the same stuff. Everything here is made of the same stuff. The ego, crocodile also stands for ego, I guess. The ego, one makes separations out of everything because it is separated from God. Because of your ego, you think you're separated from God. You think God doesn't love you anymore because you're afraid He's punishing you, because you stick with the ego. You stick with this illusory world. This is tough stuff, isn't it? God did not create this world. God is the great creator of love. God is only love, perfection, never changing, and good, and eternal. And that which is bound to time, which can be changed, which isn't perfect, isn't God. And with God I mean truth. That what you really are. Some call it source. Some call it light, peace, with capital letters, right? Heart, the heart of hearts. God is not a person sitting on a cloud with a beard, punishing people, watching us. He's not Santa Claus, right? He's not writing down whether you've been naughty or not. God is not angry at you. God is not angry at you. Today you can be free of suffering. Today you can be free of suffering. Going back to that microscope, the very last step, when scientists analyze my skin or my jacket or even the air between you and me, what shows up underneath the microscope is nothing. There's nothing there. The world is only here when we pay attention to it. When we don't pay attention to it, when we are with God, as part of God, I forgot my sentence. Sorry. When we are biology, the science of biology also knows that these things here isn't true. Neurology, for example, knows for decades already that when you decide to go to the left or to the right, we think we decide, but we don't. It's already written down, you could say, in a way, what will happen. It's already decided that we would go to the left, but we decide, right is the short way, but I have time today, so I'll go to the left. We think, we decide, we think we have reasons for stuff to happen. And when stuff happens spontaneously, it always does, but when we think it happens spontaneously, then afterwards we decide why we did that or why it happened. But the ego already wrote everything down, in a way of speaking. The ego, just like God, isn't a person, right? It's a state of mind. Physics also said that there's no time, there's no space. It's already proven. You can Google it. I don't want to get into it too much. Everything in this world is not for us to control. It's happening. What we do with it, complaining about it, being in resistance of it, is what makes us unhappy. The New Age sentence, go with the flow, is great. Actually, I don't like New Age that much, even though I'm a tarotist myself, but I don't like it as being called the truth, because it isn't. Within New Age, you can't find the truth. You cannot spiritualize anything in this world. You are spirit. You are spirit. You are free. The only freedom we have within this world, within this illusory world of the senses, is that we can choose whether to think with the ego or with God. The only free will we have is the decision to stick around in the ego, and therefore being stuck in the cycle of life and death for thousands, 10,000s of years, lifetimes, or going back to where you really belong. And we already are here, right? We already are in God. I can say I'm enlightened, but it's because I know it. You are also enlightened. There is only light with a capital L. There is only light. Because everything is written down already, because everything has been decided for you, if you get this, you can relax. You can relax. You don't have to. You can work hard on the outside if that's what fits your personality. And the personalities of this world, right? The personality has nothing to do with God. God doesn't bother whether you're friendly or unfriendly. It's not completely true, but that's the next step. Well, no, I'm going into it now. Being friendly is being love. And being love, you can only be love from the heart. And the more you are in the heart, the more you will anchor, the more you will grow this softness within your heart. I need to sit differently. The more you are in that soft spot in your heart, the quicker, the easier it is to go back to God, to knowing that you are already part of God. I'm going to get other cards from the Rider-Waite deck, if I can organize my things here. Judging yourself or somebody else or a person or a situation, a circumstance, is actually ridiculous because you didn't create it. The New Age tendency is to make you think that you create this world. Within the personality you do, but in the bigger picture you don't. Science already proved that everything already happened. Everything already happened. Victory. Victory for those of you who choose God. For those, and if you don't like the word God, I like the word, okay? I'm not a Christian. I am definitely not. I do not like everything around the church or the rules within all these different types of religions. I'm for freedom. God is freedom with a capital F for me, yes? God is about freedom. I mean God as love with a capital L. Yeah? And I say capital because you can also love someone or something in this sensory world, but then there's always an opposition to it. You can always change your mind. You can always change the experience of your feelings can always change towards a certain person. Love can turn into hate. Well, then it wasn't love. If it was real love, it will stick around. Even if the person deceased or left you, or you are divorced, or whatever happened. And I mean, God is love with a capital L, like all-encompassing love. It's like an umbrella, is that correct? Well, umbrella is the picture we have in our heads now of an umbrella is from this sensory world. Yeah, you can be free today. You can be free of suffering today. You can be free of suffering today. You can be free of suffering today. This is the card of success. Who will you watch? Will you watch people and circumstances and situations, or will you have your eyes on the prize? On God. God is all-knowing, people say, but God doesn't know what's going on in this world because this world doesn't exist. Like the scientists already proven, this world does not exist. God doesn't know anything about this world. But God is all-knowing because he knows about love, and only love is real. Only love is real. I'm going to get another card for you about this subject. What a miracle suddenly, this clip. I love it. This is the card about managing. Within Satsang, I get the question, and I know other Satsang teachers as well. How do I manage living in this world and staying in that what I really am? Living in truth. How do I live in truth? Well, in a way you can't, because you are truth. This life is just happening. When I give satsang, I'm very distinctive, I noticed, and I like it. If you like to talk about your personality, if you like to do psychoanalysis about it, meet me with the healing. Use me as a healer. But when you're at satsang, sat means truth and sang means meeting. When you want to meet yourself in truth. I only want to talk about God and actually about truth, about silence, about peace. The real inner pure peace. But there's nothing to talk about there. Right? From that place of knowing, there's nothing. There's nothing.